since you guys enjoyed my last video, it kind of perked me up, and I'll do another one here. I'm actually out behind me with the strip till rig. So some of you who watched my videos from a while back probably see me do some strip till, and all that really is we're stripping a little band of soil in our cover crop here that we'll plant corn into next year. So we'll plant corn on those strips. And behind me is a new to me strip till bar. So historically, I've had an 8-row Orthman strip till bar that kind of just hooks right to the back of the tractor. It's called I forget what. It's like a 3-point hitch implement. So it's like, it doesn't have any wheels really, it just connects to the back of the tractor on the quick hitch. All these terms I know for some non-ag people might be a little hard, but so I usually use an 8-row Orthman, like I said. We have a 12-row Remliner strip till rig that we use now, and I'll show you some pictures of it later, or give you a little bit of walk around. But yeah, we're just kind of out starting to make some strips. You can kind of see them a little bit right there, depending on how big your screen is that you're watching it on. So yeah, just out starting here, got 25 acres done. Taking a bit to get it figured out. That white cart behind me that's kind of getting towed has fertilizer in it. So we're blowing a little bit of fertilizer into the strip. Oh, that's a bump. For fertility for the corn next year. That's kind of the benefit about strip tills, that we actually can ban the fertilizer that we want to use for next year in those strips, and it's a lot more efficient way to use fertilizer, especially with the cost of it. So anyways, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to turn around and I'll get talking to you in a bit. So since the last video where I was planting the winter canola, we actually have not had any rain since then. So today is September 20th, and we've had no rain for 20 days. It's dry. So the winter canola, not looking so good. It's gonna be probably okay. We're talking a chance of rain coming here in the next day or two, maybe tonight and tomorrow. So we're kind of crossing our fingers that we're gonna get some rain. But yeah, it's not looking too good. Just thirsty, some slug damage in a few spots. But I'm kind of confident that if we get rain, it will grow good enough to fill in the kind of thin areas. But yeah, even for the strip till rig that we're running right now, it's a shank, so it's kind of like a knife, a big shank that goes in the ground and works up about 7 to 10 inch band of soil. It's dry. In the 6 inches that we're doing it, there's not a lot of moisture in it. It's not real dusty just because the cover crops kind of help hold the soil. And this is kind of what we always do. We just do strips into the cover crop. So yeah, it's last year it was so wet last fall, we didn't make any strips because we couldn't. The soil was just way too wet. So this spring we had no strips to plant into. We had to work all the soil with the joker. It was not fun, so we're pretty happy that we got some good weather right now that we can make some strips. We only have about 107 acres to do, just because our wheat acres were low, but we have a whole bunch of ground we're going to strip till after we take off soybeans. So soybeans are close. I think we're waiting for this weather to kind of go through, and we actually might be combining beans on the weekend, so we'll see what happens. So the fertilizer we're putting down is we're just putting down straight potash, and we're using the sulfur cart, the white thing I talked about. It holds a fair bit of fertilizer, I think up to 10 ton if I'm right, and it's all controlled through the isobus on my ag leader display. There's a few quirks we're just working through, but I think I got most of it figured out. The one thing we did figure out is that we might have to get some different meters to meter out the fertilizer, because I do want to go with a bit of a lower rate because we don't need as much with the chicken manure. So the rollers or the meters that are in the outfit right now, are a little too aggressive, I guess you could say, for how much we want to put on. They're probably better at putting like 200 plus pounds of fertilizer on per acre, and we're trying to do like 50 to 80. So it's kind of doing it, but I think it'd work a lot better if we had smaller rollers. So that's probably on the list for next year. But yeah, it's still working good enough to do what we need to do, so it's good that way. And I'm almost done my up and down, so I won't be able to talk to you for a while in the small field I'm going to. So I'm gonna just put my audio book back on and just drive up and down, and then do the headlands last. That's the one thing that we do have to do is strip till, is the headlands do last, or end rows, or point rows, whatever you want to call them. Just because we don't want to drive from the strips we make, so they get done last, and that's coming up. So yeah, I'm just gonna pick away at this, and we'll talk to you in a while. So day 2 of strip till. I got a lot done yesterday. I got into a small field last night at dark, and lots of little headlands and driving around chicken barns and stuff. So I was focused, eyes on the prize, doing that. So got about 30 acres left to do, then we'll unhook this rig. I'm just gonna give you a little overview of it here this morning before I take off to the field. So I'll flip you around. So that's the cart I talked about. It's a Salford Pathfinder cart. I think it's an ST10 if I'm correct, which I think is a 10 ton. So it's actually got 2 bins in the back of it, where you can put 2 different products and meter them out separately, which is nice. So there's one tank, and then there's a back tank. It's pretty big, but it lets us do that kind of, as I said, fertilizer with the strip till, and I'll show you kind of how it goes to the strip till bar. But as I said, it's 2 compartments, the 1 and the 2, and each compartment has 4 individual metering sections. So there's 4 section control on each of the tanks for our swath control. So as we go into an area we already applied, it will shut off the fertilizer for those rows that it's blowing fertilizer to. And that's what the fan is on the back. It blows the fertilizers out of the meter up into the strip till bar. So really like the cart. I just, as I said, need to down in this area here where the meters are. Right there is kind of like a hydraulic motor for the meter. One of the 4 on the back tank, and then there's 4 on the front tank. So basically when we get into the area, it just shuts off the flow to that hydraulic motor, and it quits putting fertilizer out there. But there's a meter in there, and I think we just need a little bit different one so we can meter out smaller amounts. And I think that's the plan for next year. But we're done actually using it for fertilizer. We only had a couple fields that we had to do it in. So from the tank, it gets blown up into these 12 hoses, 1 for each row. And the hoses go down to the row unit. And this is the row unit of the Remliner strip till bar. The front is trash whippers that kind of just float. They go up and down kind of based on the topography. Your coulter in the front kind of slices material so that the knife can go through it. And then there's the knife here that goes in the ground to make the strip, and that's where the fertilizer kind of blows in behind the knife and the void it makes. These discs on the side are containment coulters. It just keeps the dirt that kind of boils up from this shank within the strip in the zone, and it kind of just, they do that. They kind of are free moving so they can go up and down. And the last little feature is the basket on the back, just to break down the bigger clumps and to kind of leave the strip kind of bermed up. As you can see, it's kind of concaved here so that it's a raised strip, which will settle over the winter and probably be close to level that we can plant into it. in the fall. So, or sorry, not the fall, the spring. So that's the 12 row bar. The row spacing is 30 inches or 75 centimeters. And yeah, it's quite heavy because it's attached to the back of the tractor, but quite happy with the strips it's making. Some of the issues we had with our older Orthman, one was some of the soil would blow out past the containment coulters it had, and we'd have voids in the strip, which is not good. So anyways, I'm gonna get it serviced for today and then hop into my chariot and go finish the strips. So just hopped out of the tractor quick to check some strips. This is kind of right behind the tractor. You can see the tire marks from the tractor, and these are the strips we're making. So that is where we're going to plant corn next year. And as you can see, there's some nice aggregation there. The soil is not too fine, nice and kind of clumpy going into winter, which is nice. So what I kind of like doing this in living cover crop and not have it sprayed off is that it helps mix a little bit of live cover crop in with the strip, and also this kind of cover crop on the edge kind of protects it from rain and wind erosion. So we have never had problems with the strips washing out. Sometimes if you get a really big rainfall, because this soil is worked and the soil over here is not, you could get some erosion in these strips. But with the kind of living cover crop, we don't run into that. I think I've only had one time where we've had a couple spots washed out where the strips are. So if you kind of make it clumpy, like you can see there, it tends to hold a lot better. So this is kind of, as I said, where we drove the tractor. So when you get into this area here, this is kind of where you know, we have these kind of strips of living cover crop still, and spots here where the soil's worked. So this is I'm pretty happy with this. It's doing an awesome job. Cover crops are doing a good job considering there hasn't been a lot of rain. Some of the cover crop species we have is oats, which is a grass looking plant here. We have some peas right there, sunflower that's right there, and buckwheat that's actually flowering right now. So those are the 4 species we're using for a cover crop this year, partly because of availability and cost. So we're trying to do this as most cost effective as possible. So as you can see, it's a nice little shade of green, and as I said, we're really happy with the strips it's making. And as I said, we'll be planting corn into these strips next year, so looking forward to that. As I said, last year we didn't get any made, so it's kind of nice to be making some this year. So beautiful. So that's it for this video. Kind of a quick little update on what I've been doing lately. Since winter canola, we just been kind of getting everything ready for soybeans. So I expect soybean harvest to start here. Well, we could probably be at today. I'm just trying to finish up this job. Sandy's got a few sheep jobs she's trying to get done. Talking thunderstorm system rolling through today, so kind of don't really feel like starting and getting stuck having to stop. So next week looks a little catchy, but I think next on the list though is soybean harvest. So I'll take you along for a ride in the combine here probably in a weekish, something like that. Anyways, take care.